Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh man, it's been an interesting 2020 and we're looking forward to a 2021. I hope everyone's doing well and that you guys are also looking forward to a better 2021.
Yeah, I think we all deserve it, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, basically. So, just wanted to share some stuff for you guys. We had to make some changes. As you know, our show is called Love and Cannabis. And with that premise, the idea of using love and cannabis is to talk about relationships, our relationship around cannabis and how we've been using it to help and treat our son, as well as to advocate about it and hoping others can look to the benefits of his therapy. But with the business and the environment that it is today, it seems it's challenging for us to get our message across because of the word cannabis. The stigma is still there.
Yes.
And
It's I don't think it's going away for a while, to be quite honest with you.
yeah, unless the powers that be want to normalize it and make it acceptable, for the most part, it's just still taboo. So moving forward, we will be known as Love and Can. So it's LUVNCANN. So Love and Can. So definitely look for that change. And also, you guys have probably already seen the update that we're no longer part of the MJ Bulls. MJ Bulls is the same podcast format that we use the platform, but is now called podCONX. Basically, it's experiencing the same issues that we have as well. Reaching out to the masses to share our messages and information. So these are the steps that you need to take. We're pivoting and moving along to just make sure that we get our message across, and it reaches the people that we feel that would benefit from it. But we do appreciate all you guys out there who are listening and tuning in, and definitely we're looking forward to expanding our platform to where we can exchange discussions. You guys could tune in and share some information with us or ideas that you may have, or even just want to communicate with us. So we'll be looking to do that more and more.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
So, guys, thank you again, as always, for being part of us and really keeping us motivated to do this. It's not easy.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and just to follow up, also, Aiden's doing really, really well. So we're going to get ready and have our new interviewee for the year for 2021.
Yeah, it's our first interview.
Yes, so we're looking forward to it. So sit tight and tune in.
Today's guest is Brian Higuera, who has become a well-known CBD advocate, serving on Echo Connections as the newly appointed president and board chairman of the board of directors, as well as speaking at conventions and attending city council meetings to share his family story about his daughter, Sadie, as well as advocating for cannabinoids. In his new role, he will lead his executive team in organizing fundraisers, managing donation funds, and connecting with other families in need. I'd like to welcome Brian Higuera to our show.
Hello, how you doing?
So, I know you have an amazing story. Let's rewind and can you tell us exactly your daughter's diagnosis, her condition, so they can kind of be abreast to that?
Yes, my daughter has Gideon syndrome, and I think she was the 50. Not think they had told us she was the 56th child with it, somewhere around there, 56, 57 child that they knew of in the world.
Wow, 56.
That had been tested and diagnosed with Gideon syndrome. That syndrome affects every cell of her body. Her brain cells, her bone cells, kidney function, brain function. It just a plethora of conditions. I mean, she's got. Sorry, just one second. The kidney function was one of the huge things for her. That she started with stage 4, hydrophenosis of kidneys, which is really, really bad, and she had to have a few surgeries for that. Well, kind of amazing with all this, the stuff that's not there anymore. Her kidney function is stage 1. Her bone density is back to where it should be. She responds now. They call it, say she's vocal. That it was all things that they told us in the beginning that she wouldn't live past 2, you know, and it's pretty amazing where she's at today.
How did you get introduced to Canaway? Because in our situation, you know, everybody has like the best product. Everybody's throwing something at you, and for us, we were very, you know, we just new to the industry because New York just recently, but at the time was about 2014. They just passed their medical marijuana program, and we were enrolled in 2015. So my son was like one of the first to have a medical marijuana card. So, you know, when it came to figuring out, you know, which is the best product to try, it was like a hit or miss. How were you able to find out what was worked for your daughter?
That was most definitely an issue in the beginning. Luckily, the guy who gave us Dr. Reddy, bless his heart, you know, a lot of people turned us down to give Sadie a medical marijuana card being 8.5 months old. He said, come on down. I can't promise I'll give you the card, but I'll see you. Mm-hmm. And he saw us and said, oh, you know what? Usually it's a year. I'm going to give you for 30 days. Sadie's so young and so fragile that I'll give her for 30 days, want to see her again, and then we'll go from there. Mm. And so at that appointment, he said, here's a flyer of one that I heard is very good. It's a CBD product. He goes, for Sadie, I would recommend starting on CBD first, see how that goes, and then maybe, you know, if you don't get the full desired effects, maybe we'll start adding some THC, et cetera, later on. It's a whole nother part there. But anyways, at that appointment, he gave us thing, and it was a real scientific hemp oil. And I said, okay, where can I get this? He goes, to be honest with you, I don't know. This is, you know, they gave me the flyer. They said it's in some pharmacies, but I've heard very good things about it, that it tests, you know, like what it's supposed to test at and stuff like that. And so I called a couple pharmacies, and I think it was a third one, and they said, oh, yeah, we have a guy came in, and we have 2 syringes of it. And I said, I'll be right there. So went and got it and tried that. And that worked well. I tested it, and it tested the same. You know, I took it to our local lab here in San Diego. I found one that, you know, tests cannabis, and they got to know me very well because, you know, testing the different ones, making sure what it was. When I was dealing with my baby, I was just like, I need to make sure, right? So that always tested within like 0.01, 0.02 of whatever it said on the label to what the laboratory that I would take it to would test that. And there was one time when they ran out of CBD oil, and I went and found their office and was knocking on their door, and they're like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I need some oil. And they're like, what do you need? And I'm like, yeah, you know, my daughter Sadie, and I need this and that. And they're like, sorry, we're completely out. So here I go trying other products and testing them, and you know, it just wasn't there what they said it would be, right? It would, the amounts would be off, or some of them would say, okay, would come back high in yeast or, you know, other stuff that could be causing infection, right? In somebody like Sadie. So that was always a concern. So I ended up in Beverly Hills and finally had to make my own. I found CBD that they said was tested and good, and brought it back and made my own, and took it, got it tested. It, you know, tested good for anything that could cause her harm, and the CBD content was good, and did that. And that was a whole stressful situation, right?
Yes.
You know, doing that. So I've been through the ringer, you know, and it's not fun. You know, it's not fun as a father saying, you know, I've got 3 mLs left. Yes. And they're telling me they got, you know, no more. And here I am going, well, babe, they say they have, you know, this amount in Beverly Hills. And, you know, I called Rick Simpson, and I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that was,
Pioneer.
That was back when he was still, helping out right at the end of it. Yeah. And that was like, you know, I was basically in tears, like, you know, hey, And he's like, look, this is what you do. This is what you can do. I'm like, I don't have access to that. Okay, well, what do you have? Like, some caring people, but it's awesome that for CBD, there's an avenue that's tried and true. I've used the Canaway products. I've used those products, and they're good. And that's what these families get donated to them. So that's it's a pretty big deal. You can imagine that the cost, how much that runs up on a family.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We know.
We've gone through it. We range from anywhere between $300 to $1,000 a month at some point.
Yeah, that's and sometimes we would be, above that. With Sadie, it depends on whether her kidney infections, if she's having a good day, and we give it to her every 12 hours.
Oh,
She's having a bad day, it could be every 2, 4, 6, 8 hours. It just depends on how bad her kidneys infection gets. And, so yeah, ours varies quite a bit, but, on the average, it was $1,000 to $2,000 a month.
Wow.
In the beginning. And, as we got to know the pharmacies more, and they're like, one person, and that was another way how we got started was they were like, I'm back. They're like, yeah, I'm like, do you have any more? And they're like, no, you bought the 2. And I'm like, okay, well, when can you get more? And they said, oh, we'll call the rep that came by. And I got to talking to the girl, and I go, it's for my daughter. And I go, here, she goes, I saw you have 2 cards, but you only ever show us yours on file. And I said, yeah, the other one's my daughter's if you look at it. And she goes, you know what? Wow, there's a person that was in here that's doing the science of weed. And I think that's how, I found out later on, that's how HempMeds found out about Sadie and us using that oil. And through the news, too. We never knew them before that.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah, no, we never, they were kind of like, oh, you're advocating for us. I'm like, no, I'm advocating for a product that works. So hopefully, that's a side thing, I guess, right? Hey, it's a fantastic product, but, and it is. But the thing is, we don't have to do this to our children, to our loved ones. Like my wife said, here I was trying to save my daughter and do good by her, and I was actually harming her by giving her all these drugs, Her physician wrote a letter to our insurance company and says, hey, look, they got them off all these medications, which is great, but now it's costing the family this much money. Start reimbursing them. And I was surprised they even responded, but of course the response was a Schedule I drug.
Of course.
So we can't do anything with it. I've got the letter. I posted it on my Facebook and stuff like that. Of course, with the doctor's name scratched out. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, just pretty amazing things, and want to start to get some of these other families out there and share their stories and stuff like that. But we've got some great families we support.
That's awesome. Now, we could relate so much to everything you're saying. It's like I'm reliving what you're just going. Like for tonight, we're kind of low on CBD oil, so I have to run out, travel 2 hours one way to pick up some oil to come back because we just ran out. So I understand the frustration, the pain. Is like, you don't want to let down your child or your family because what the alternative could happen if you don't have it available, and that's like.
Yeah.
For a plant that empowers you also takes that power away because someone else controls it because you have to wait for them to provide it. And it's just amazing that they would just loosen up these laws and allow us to have access to something as a plant. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's beyond belief, and there's a lot of big money behind it.
Of
you know
course,
what I mean?
Of course. We know the game.
Oh yeah, a lot of from all sides. It's yeah.
So, because of this experience, it definitely made you into an advocate. Like once you started, what was the changes that said, you know what, we gotta push for this? Because there was a moment for our family when our son started, doing things that he wasn't able to do before, just basically walking or starting to talk and, put words together, we're like, oh my God, we got to start advocating for, CBD. We got to really, share this message. What was that moment for you?
That moment for us, okay. For me, and being part of Echo and everything, I gotta refer to everything as anecdotal or anything. So this is near and dear to my heart. So I'll try not to say hey, this is gonna cure your kid or anything like that.
Oh,
but,
you understand. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yes, disclaimer.
But that moment for me was after finally getting that oil in my hands, getting home. My wife says, you know what? I'm nervous about this. I don't know if I told you guys, but my wife is from Mexico and very old ways and was very concerned, about the marijuana. Over there is that was kind of like the worst thing ever. You know what I mean? Marijuana is really bad, almost kind of worse than doing meth or something like that. But, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, she was like, the alternative is this drug that's going to end her life. Her neurologist said, it's be her hero, give her that. Got 1 week to decide and start saying your goodbyes, because in 2 months it will stop, the epilepsy, but it's going to end her life. And she goes, I know it'll last about 2 months. So that was a little hard pill to swallow. So that's when my wife decided, yes. We went through the different doctors, etc. And anyways, so get home. I got the oil. My wife loads up our 2 girls and takes them to the park. And meanwhile, I sit there with this very expensive CBD oil and try and figure out how to get it through a G-tube without all of it staying in the G-tube, right? So I finally find out, okay, I get a right mixture of coconut oil, the organic. I had organic coconut oil, and if I, warmed it up in warm water enough, it would get right consistency, mixed good. So okay, good to go. I got it through the G-tube. So, okay, I put a tiny bit under her tongue and about a grain of rice in her G-tube. Mixed in with coconut oil, and sat there and watched her, and I'm like, okay, eyes aren't twitching. And this is, Sadie had numerous amounts of seizures per day. She had been overdosed 4 times trying to stop them. And just bad situation. So when about 10 seconds after giving her that first one under her tongue and into her G-tube, I'm like, her eyes seemed to be stopped twitching. They would always twitch, never focus. So I went to one side and here's Sadie. And I swear, I'm like, her eyes went, watched, and looked at me. I went to the other side, Sadie. And I was like, no, I'm just wanting to see this, right? So I don't know. I must have lost track of time because my wife called, and I was doing stuff like that for a while. She called, is everything all right? And I'm like, yeah, why? She goes, it's been 2 hours. I'm like, no, everything's fine. Come home. And she's like, no, what's wrong? And I go, no, everything's great. I don't want to put any ideas in your head. She walked through the door, walked over, and came around Sadie's little chair and said, Sadie. And Sadie looked over and finally just started crying. She goes, we got her baby back.
Wow.
That was the moment when I knew. I was like, you know what? Why was this our last choice?
Yes.
Really, Lord? Lord, why this day and age, why was this our last choice?
I know.
Sadie was in bad condition. If you look at pictures of her, she was so swollen and red from prednisone. And sorry, I get choked up every time on this, but
I'm here with you with that.
It was just, it was just to me disgusting that this got to be a first option. You know what I mean?
I agree.
You don't overdose. You don't any of this. And then from there, started the meeting with the board of directors of the local hospital and how are we going to work this out. And I mean, just one step in front of the other. I won't say hurdle, I'll say step, because we're going to get to the top of those steps eventually and ride that elevator down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll get there, but, so when I see another kid like, oh yeah, we tried to decide this first, I'm hearing that more and more now. We're trying this first instead of that. It's like, warms my heart, you know what I mean?
Attention Cannabis Podcast listeners. You can now listen to your favorite cannabis podcast ad-free with the MJ Bulls mobile app. Just download the free MJ Bulls mobile app to your smartphone to start enjoying cannabis podcasts with no commercials. Go to Apple Apps or Google Play to get the MJ Bulls Cannabis Podcast app today.
Yeah, and I think for us, what year was this? Did you start with Sadie?
2013. She was born in May 2013, and it was right in the 8.5 months old. It was right around January of 2014.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
About the same
got
time
it.
as us.
I mean, maybe a year or so after.
Yeah, we were about a year after you.
We did
It was
2015.
about 7 years ago, right? 7 years ago.
Wow. That's
About,
amazing.
because she's almost 8 now.
Yeah.
She's almost 8 now.
That's amazing.
And of course, it's a lot different now, like I went and got a medical marijuana card, and, one time a guy flew out from Florida that we had first came out on the news because we were at a city council meeting and Telemundo was there.
Mm-hmm.
So a Spanish network, then somebody flew out from Brazil, and this family from Florida heard about us, and he flew out here to see how to give it through a G-tube. I'm like, hey, come on out, I can show you and this and that. So I didn't even realize like those hemp med products could be shipped anywhere, right?
Yeah, we know about that. Yeah.
He's like, oh, this and that. I'm like, I don't know. I'll leave, there's a bottle right there. I don't know if it's gone. I don't know. Find out later that it's like, you can ship those because it falls under different, it's industrial, all these different laws, and gray areas. But no, they're great people, great products. Yeah.
Now, did they approach you about advocating and joining their team, or did you just say, you know what, I want to do something?
They approached me and asked me. I think the first major one when I really got to know them was they said, oh, would you come and speak at one of our Canaway events, one of the first events, and the products and stuff. And I had met Blake Schrader before that, and at a convention that I was speaking at, and he said, hey, we're going to start Canaway and we're going to open Echo Connection, and it's going to be great. And I'm like, okay, sure, fantastic. And yeah, sure enough, it was just Michael Lamas, the guy who started all of it, and Blake kind of kept the torch going afterwards, and that's how I got started with him. Yeah.
Wow.
Got it.
Congrats
Yeah,
on
that's
that.
wonderful. I have a question. Did you guys end up having to implement THC in your regimen?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We did. At about that 30-day mark, when we went back to see Dr. Raby, he had said, "Oh, how's she doing?" And we said, she's 80% reduction in the seizures. Is what we were hoping for, or whatever. And yeah, and I gotta see that as anecdotal. You know what I mean? I don't.
Of course.
Yeah, the EEGs I have, tell me, and that's what the nice thing was for us. Sadie had at one point like weekly EEGs, so she was hooked up to everything. And when we would go to these appointments, the guy would usually be the same person administering the EEGs to her. And he's just like, wow, it's getting less and less. And like, okay, we're not telling him yet.
Yeah, right.
The neurologist knew right away. But, so we had the ability to, as we were adding, the THC and stuff like that to see differences. And she has all the heart monitor, the aux sensor, and, so we can monitor all that. But it was about 80%. So he said, yeah, start maybe implementing in the THC. And she's on 1-to-1 now.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
She does about, she's on 1-to-1, and she does about 50 mLs of each when she takes it. So,
Wow.
on a good, it's quite a bit for somebody her size, but she's been on it for a while, and her body processes completely different. There's sometimes we have to feed her over a 24-hour period on a pump that's like very, very, very slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's other times where we can just feed her normally. Her system's different. So, we can see some of the oil doesn't even process in her body and come out, but that's why we have to do sometimes more. Yeah, but that's about where her normal dose is,
Now, how many medications was she prescribed that you had her on?
She was about on 14 different ones. I want to say,
oh my God,
when we stopped, she was probably on 8. And these weren't medications you could just stop, right?
No, you can't.
You can't just stop neurological, medications. But the doctor was like amazed that she goes, let's fast track her. She goes, if you guys are up for it. And I go, no, of course we're up for it. I go, look at her. I mean, and just the turnaround that was happening so rapidly was just amazing to us. I mean, Gideon syndrome, part of the issue is they create massive amounts of tumors.
Oh, really?
So she had a tumor removed from her spine, usually where your cord tethers when you're a baby, right there. They untethered the cord and removed the tumor from there. She had another one at the base of her skull where the spine meets up on the top, and one in her liver. Those two they could not operate on. After 9 months of being on the combination CBD THC, the tumors disappeared.
Really?
It's gone. Talk about a side effect. You know what I mean?
That's a positive side effect.
It's 9 months later, and I'm starting to think there's no end for this girl. My little warrior, I always, when she was born, she had a rough pregnancy, and then when she was born, nobody knew what she had. We flew to Minnesota to find out, and she wouldn't breathe, and I just yelled to her, hey, Mika, you breathe, and I'll fight for you if you fight for me, for you. And she started crying. The doctor just said, she wanted to hear Papa's voice, and I go, I'm my little warrior. And she goes, I have a feeling she's going to be. And, from there it was like she's not going to make it 24 hours in the week. And, I think she may outlive me now.
Yeah, right. They are amazing. These children are amazing.
Yeah, they're amazing. And, she communicates in her own way. And, for somebody that they said, one time we were told, when I asked, hey, like, when are we going to get physical therapy and occupational therapy? They talked about it in the ICU when she was first born. And the doctor told me, well, Mr. Gray, you need to be honest with yourself, and we need to be honest with you. That'd be services wasted on Sadie.
Wow.
So fast forward to about, I want to say 16 or 18 months after using the oil, I finally kept putting off going to see this doctor. You know how that goes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we've been there.
Sometimes you're like, no, even though he's a specialist, no, we just did not see eye to eye. So
Oh, yeah.
Been there.
You're fired.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But anyways, we went back to see him, and he's like, hey, Sadie's doing great, and this and that, and, why isn't she occupational therapy, in that regional center and getting these stuff and this and that? I said, check your notes. He goes, what? I said, check your notes. And I started laughing. I go, you're the one that told her she wasn't worth it. He goes, really? He goes, that is a change that I can't fathom. So her primary care doctor, I think, explained it best. He goes, you are, as parents, are doing for your children what we can't do as physicians. And you're teaching us. He goes, this is just wrong, you know. He goes, I'm going to write you guys, and that's when he wrote the letter, right? I mean, the good doctors will straight up tell you, like, hey, you know, and then her neurologist she's great, and you know, she was like, how come you didn't discuss this with me before you tried it? And I said, well, you told us to give her a drug that was going to end her life, like.
Exactly.
You know, how come you didn't say this or anything? And she goes, to be honest, I can't recommend it. I can't say anything about it because I could lose my license.
Yeah,
they work, you know, many, many years for. Yeah, a lot of it, some of it is just kind of like, you know. But in the end, she said, can I have your number so I can give it to another family?
That's what happened to us too,
you know,
as well.
So, you know, so at least it was like she's like, I can't help them, and I'm gonna give their numbers. Hopefully, you can, right? Like, or at least talk to each other about what we're doing. And
that's amazing, though. But it took you for them to say, "Let me, since it worked for your family, let me try with another family." It's like we come to you for these answers, but that's the point of this plan. It empowers you to do these things, and then somewhat it kind of transfers to them. Now they feel a little bit more empowered, so they're no longer living in fear because if that's their oath is to do no harm. And so now with Echo, being involved in Echo, how much have they supported you and provided you a platform to really, bring in those families to reach out, do the outreach that you need to do to get this message out there?
I said with Echo, a lot of the outreach. I mean, they've got the website, they've got the Facebook page, they got the videos. I mean, Echo is in Mexico, Brazil, Europe. I mean, it's getting global now. I mean, I don't want to say the exact amount of countries, and some of them I can't even pronounce very well. But it's the European countries I have the trouble with the pronunciation. But yeah, I mean, we're getting global, and a lot of that is Canaway. A lot of that is Canaway. Just they're going global, and they're giving the platform, and they're getting the word out there. So we're getting friend invites from people in Japan and Russia. They're going to go to Russia, and yes, I mean it's pretty amazing. They're going to be everywhere, and we follow that with them.
I have one question for you, and it's something that I think about too. If your daughter didn't have this condition, what would you be doing now? It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one, but I think we would, if my daughter didn't have this condition, we'd almost be doing what we are doing now. Since having cannabis. You know what I mean? Since having cannabis, I could say we're almost, I can't say we're almost like a normal family, right?
There's nothing normal about us anymore.
There's nothing normal about us anymore. We've got monitors going off all night. We got an ICU in our own room, right?
But also, you turn into a scientist too.
Kidneys. Yeah, we flush kidneys daily here. We access her port, stuff that nurses don't even know how to do. That because most people don't have portacasts installed, and all this different stuff. So, besides that, we get around. I mean, Sadie goes to school. I mean, pre-COVID, awesome. Right? I mean, she goes to school with her sisters. We pack them all up. Yeah, it takes longer. We got to get a wheelchair, and we got to meet the nurse and drop off and all that. But I mean, heck, we take off and go for days. We went on a cruise, and like
wow.
We haven't done
that. I mean, we were so terrified to be away from any, shot of any hospital. Like, our house is about an hour. We live kind of rural, so we're an hour away from the children's without traffic.
Wow.
So that was our area. You know what I mean? And then it was like, hey, cannabis. Like, hey, the first 2 years of her life, she spent over a year inside the hospital. Us in Ronald McDonald houses, her sisters, and it was that was our life. Cannabis gave us, because cannabinoids gave us the freedom to hey, we can venture out. You know what? You want to go down to Rosarito, the borderway? Let's check it out. And even if we have to, we get emergency pass. We just started, like little things, and then we'll go up to, a little bit further out. We'll go to the lake, and and it just gave us a freedom. There's still life stresses that other people don't have to deal with, but those little breaks just make life, so much more manageable. And to see that smile that she has now, and the, the brightness in the eyes, and not only in her and these other families that Echo helps, there's a lot of them, and it's pretty cool to see the differences.
Yeah, I'm just hearing it in your voice, and I can sense the passion and just the love that comes through. And especially, with your daughter, I can imagine the motivation she gives you in the morning when you go off to work. You look at her like, yeah, I'm doing this for you, because I say the same thing to my son. I get up because he's like my little warrior. He's so strong. It's like, I can't have a bad day. I can't have a weak day. I can't have a down day because he's counting on me. But at the same time, I'm counting on him.
Yeah, right. That's what I tell her. I got to be strong today, and you got to keep me strong today. And she's my little warrior, and her sisters are my heroes.
Yeah.
Her sisters they're growing up seeing things in a different light, and not only cannabinoids and all that, and seeing hey, there's a good side to all this, if you manage it right, but just the compassion they have now for other kids, stuff that's growing up, and they're at such a young age, spending 2 years in Ronald McDonald houses and next to children that hard to play. It's pretty cool. So there's a lot of blessings if you look for them.
Definitely. And you being the dad, you have your little girls, so you're number one.
Yeah.
You're the hero.
Yeah. I hope so, for as long as I can be.
My friend, you have a mission. So stay strong and be there for them, and for everyone else for what you're doing. This is a really, really great opportunity and a great platform for you to use to share and basically serve the community, doing the things that others can't or probably won't do. So thank you, and we appreciate you.
I know. Thank you guys. Appreciate all you guys do too, and getting the word out there. That's for sure.
Well, we have people like yourself out there. It makes it easier because we also connect, because sometimes the words don't get out there, and people don't know who's out there really, sending out the message. So I'm glad that you're there and you're doing what you're doing on the West Coast, and we'll keep doing what we do on the East.
Sweet. Okay, we got to hook up, Osiris. Yeah, we got to hook up and say hello when the stuff clears, the fog clears a little bit. We'll
let them all play.
One way or the other, we'll get to see each other.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. I really would like to do a Father's Day event, something like that, because there are a number of fathers who are in the same situation that I've connected with, and it's just like, our side. Because you hear about the moms, but there's dad too. Don't forget us. Yeah.
That's for sure. There's a few of us out there.
Yes, it's true. Brian, I want to say thank you again. I appreciate your time and joining us this evening. Please continue the great work you're doing with Echo Connection, and tell them also from us, Love and Can, thank you for all they're doing for the community. It means a lot.
I sure will. Yep, I sure will. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon. We'll stay in touch.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks. Bye.